afternoon, everybody. How are you doing today? Good. A little more enthusiasm. Come on. Good. Down. There's no humidity. It's gorgeous. So they asked me to come here and talk to you about networking, and they said tools for people that don't like to network. Now, when I got in here today and watched all of you, you seem to be doing just fine. So I called the presentation Networking for Non-Networkers. So it's probably the people that want to avoid it but do it anyway, right? And here's the deal. Whether you're an extrovert who likes to go out and meet with people, or an introvert who has to force themselves to go out to those networking events, the deal is this. All of us need to learn the skills of networking. People take it for granted, like it's a social event, and just assume that they know how to do it. People do that in customer service a lot too, right? It's common sense. But is customer service great everywhere you go? Is customer service great everywhere you go? No. Just want to make sure you're with me. Okay, so neither are networkers great everywhere you go, okay? Because they haven't taken the time to really learn the skills and the tools to make it effective. It is a learned skill. It is a strategy, a marketing tool, just like any other marketing tool, right? And so one of the things that is commonly talked about is being able to have a commercial, a 60-second commercial, right? But what do most people do when they walk into a networking event? They're making that up as they go along. Let me ask you this. If you were going to pay for a 60-second commercial on a radio station, would you make it up? Would you call the DJ and go, oh, just say whatever you want? No, right? And so the same is true in networking events. You need to take the time to write it. So what I say is it's a tool just like any other advertising tool. You got to plan for your networking, you got to prepare for your networking, and you got to set goals for your networking, okay? So we're going to just give you some tips today, and you got a handout there that'll follow along these tips and that you can take notes on for what I'm about to share with you. Is that all right? Ready? Good. Somebody's awake. All right. So for those of you who are introverts by nature and have trouble forcing yourself into those environments, be the host or hostess. Put yourself into a position where you have the job to welcome people into that event, right? Because if you are hosting something at your home, it's easy to go and shake people's hands and welcome them when they come to the door, right? Do you agree? So you want to put yourself in that same situation in the networking events. Does this chamber have ambassadors? Yes. There you go. Volunteer to be a chamber ambassador. Because then it's your job to greet people. Instead of you forcing yourself out there, it's your job to do that, right? Volunteer to sit at the registration table and help out with registration. You're forced to meet everybody. It's your job. It becomes easier because I have to do the job that I'm assigned to. All right? So it's just a simple little tip. In any other position that people want you to help out, right? Whether that be selling raffle tickets, a lot of nonprofit events I go to, right? They're selling raffle tickets. Great way to open up conversation and meet new people by using a job within that event. Does that make sense? Excellent. Second tip, have a good 60-second commercial or elevator speech. Now there's a difference. How many people in the room do I have that have been in BNI or are in a BNI chapter? Quite a few, okay? So we train in BNI a very specific outline for a 60-second commercial. And it's all about educating our sales force, right? Our fellow members in that chapter. An elevator speech, by comparison, is something that you're prepared to deliver if you walk into an event or are walking around the community at any point in time and run into the person that you always wanted to be connected to. And be prepared to tell them in that moment why you wanted to meet them and the action steps after that. Does that make sense? Difference from the education side? So it goes something like this. Write these down, right? Tell them who I am, what I specialize in, how I help people, and why I would like to meet with them or action steps that they can help me with. Okay, so let me give you an example. I am Luann Meekler, and I am passionate about helping companies increase their results through employee engagement. I specialize in helping them align their passions, their unique contribution to the world, with their employees' passions, which helps to increase results. I help people do this through employee engagement. Now, I'd like to have an opportunity, if I might, to come into your company and sit down and share more details about how this works. Does that make sense? So that I know exactly already when that moment happens what I want to say to that person. So that would be an elevator speech. Any questions on that? How many of you have a prepared 60-second or elevator speech? Just a few raising their hand. Okay, so here's one of the strategies, right? We fail to write them down because we think we've got it all up in our head. But in that moment, when that person's in front of you, then sometimes we get tongue-tied, right? And so even our great B&I members never write them down the way they ought to. There's a strategy, just like a marketing plan, we should be looking at what do we want to talk about this month? What do I want to talk about next month? What products and services do I want to be sharing with people? What areas do I need to increase the number of the business or the target markets I'm approaching, right? So we can look at it from an annual basis and say, what is it I'm going to focus on this much? Especially people who have a cyclical business, right? Had a landscaper say to me in December one year, now what do I do? What do I talk to people about? I'm like, would you like them to be your customers before the snow melts? Or do you want them all to wait until after the snow melts? No, I'd love to talk to them now. I'm like, then keep talking, right? About those summer opportunities. Here's another good one, is ask good questions. How many of you are in direct sales? Lots of people in direct sales in the room. Good. What do they tell you in direct sales? They tell you stop. Stop talking, stop, dumping all over people because you're so excited you want to tell them everything about your products right up front, right? And then they get sick of listening to you before you're done. The reality is we need to listen first. And so if we ask good questions of other people and have prepared questions, here's the other thing. The other guy that's nervous and shy, when you start asking them questions, they open up and they're going to turn around and ask you the same questions. So write questions you want to answer. Okay? Does that make sense? Anybody know who Bob Burg is? Talks about referrals for life is one of his books. Bob Burg, if you don't know Bob Burg yet, go get Bob Burg books. He's got great books out there. Bob Burg's 10 networking questions that work every time is another tip for you. Let me go through these. How did you get started in your business? Now, these I gave you because I didn't want you to have to write these down. How did you get started in your business? What do you enjoy most about your business or your profession? What separates you and your company from the competition? What advice would you give to someone just starting out in business? What one thing would you do with your business if you knew you could not fail? Think about that. What's holding you back? I love that angle. If you knew you could not fail, what would you do? And think about the answer people might give and how we could support them in achieving that. What significant changes have you seen taking place in your profession through the years? What do you see as the coming trends in your profession or business? Describe the strangest or funniest incident you've experienced in your business. What ways have you found to be the most effective for promoting your business? And what one sentence would you like people to use in describing the way you do business? Now that's a lot of questions. 10, right? Here's my advice to you. Pick the ones that are comfortable for you. The thing is with these questions is they're questions that people like to answer. Things they're always thinking about, right? Things they do naturally, and you get to know about their business. Again, if there's ones particularly in there that you would like to be able to answer and share with people, pick those. Know the questions. Be prepared to ask them. Don't bring this piece of paper and interrogate them or interview them, right? So you have to really get comfortable with what are those questions that I'm going to ask people. And again, ones that you might want to answer. So, what one sentence would you like people to use in describing the way you do business? I would like to use that one so I can tell them that I'm totally passionate about my business and what I love to do, and I love helping others, right? So I just pick those ones that I want to answer, that will let people know who I am. Ask them first. Listen. Take the time to really listen and be present with them, right? Eye contact. Not looking over their shoulder at the next guy that you can meet in the room and who am I missing out on, but actually being present with them in that moment and learning about them. And again, they'll turn around and ask you the questions. You see, networking is about building relationships. It's not about selling. Okay? It's about building relationships. In those networking environments, that is not the time to be selling your products. Does that feel all right? Make sense, right? It's a time to get to know other people. Learn a lot about them rather than selling your products or services. Connect to them on a personal level and understanding who they are and how you can help them. So those of you in BNI know our philosophy, it's giver's gain. If you help other people first to get what they want, you will get what you want in return. And it's just human nature. It's a loyalty and a commitment that once we share with each other and support each other, that we will all be more successful. That's why I say caring is the ultimate competitive advantage. If you truly care about the customers you already have coming in to your establishment, show them how much you care, they can be your best referral partners. Your best networking strategies to make sure you take care of the people that are there and keep those relationships going. Right? They already are doing business with you. So what can they do for you? They can be out there spreading word of mouth for you all day long. So we got to treat every customer we already have as we would the people that we're networking with, and asking them to find referrals for us, just like we do the people we're networking with. Does that make sense? And then you get to this customer service level that if they need anything at all, they come to you. And they go, you know lots of people, help me find XYZ product. And when you're the go-to person, they're coming around and around more often into your establishment, right? So if we help them find the other products and services they need, even if they haven't bought anything from us yet, right? The day that they need your products and services, they're going to come back to you, okay? So taking care of your current customers just as you would referral partners. It's all about those relationships, okay? Through that, and if you remember back to the elevator commercial I did, you can ask for the next step, right? I'd like to sit down with you later, but not in this chaos of 50 or 100 people, right? It's not the time to try and tell them everything you do, but rather to say, would it be all right if I call you and we'll do coffee or lunch at another time, or can I make an appointment to come and see you? That kind of thing. That's what happens in the networking moment. Set something up. Then when you get back to your office, it's so much easier to pick up that phone, right? Because what do we normally do in networking events? We come home with a stack of business cards, right, about this big, because we've captured as many cards as we possibly can. And then what? Throw them away? Did someone say?
I mean, I don't do that, but some people might.
Yeah. Well, they set them on the desk, and they get harder and harder to pick up again.
Right.
The longer you wait after that moment that you met that person to call them again, the harder it is to pick up that business card. It becomes very heavy like a paperweight. So does the phone, right? But if we've made that contact and agreed to that appointment, that we agreed we're going to have another conversation, it's so much easier. So here's the other thing, is set goals for your networking. And this is really important, okay? Because what we have a tendency to do is, again, it's common sense, right? Oh, there's another networking event, I better go. And the next thing you know, you're going to 4 or 5 a week, and it's consuming your entire week, okay? So you have to identify those events that are going to work most effectively for you and your business, right? As BNI director, I would tell you BNI is one of them, but you get to make that choice, right? Is that the right fit for you? I always recommend everybody is a member of their chamber as well, but how many of the chamber events do you participate in, and which ones are most effective for you and your time? What other activities? And what you have to think about is in those events, are the people that you need to meet going to be at those events? So you have to be able to identify who you're looking to meet. Set goals for who it is I have to connect with or would like to connect with. Meaning I have to identify what my target market is and fully understand that, right? The other one we talk about is where will you find your referral partners? Okay? And referral partners are people that share the same target market that you do, but are not your competition. You got that? They share the same target market, but they are not your competition. In B&I, we also call that contact spheres, right? And so you think about, for example, every business it takes to put on a wedding. And all of those are natural referral partners for one another. There's Mrs. B's Bridal Shop here in Owatonna that demonstrated that one of the best ways I've ever seen. Any bride walked into Mrs. B's Bridal Shop to buy the dress, and she was getting them connected with the DJ, the event facility, the hair salon, the printer for the invitations, etc., right? All of the people it takes to do a wedding. So no matter what, if you work with your referral partners, no matter where that customer walks into first, right? Everybody gets a piece of that business. They just happen to walk into the bridal shop first. We learned that is the bride's first stop, by the way. So who are those people that could continually refer you business? Those are the people you want to meet when you're out networking and start building really strong relationships with those individuals. Another misconception that I see people have, especially in the B&I arena, is that what if a plumber is a good referral partner for the restoration company or vice versa? Do I only get to know the one in my chapter? No. I need to know all the plumbers in the community that they could potentially pass on business to the restoration company. Does that make sense? So when you identify who those businesses are, those other professionals that can send you constant business, you set the goal at networking events to meet more of those people. Right? So first you're going to set goals and identify what events are appropriate for you to attend. And maybe that's 1 a week, maybe it's 2 a week, whatever works for you. I mean, think about it. If you're not going out to network, even doing 1 a week is better than nothing at all. Correct? And then once you've decided you're going to those networking events, think about, okay, how am I going to manage it? Do I need to be the host or hostess? Do I need to find a job like that to make me comfortable in the environment? What questions am I going to ask people so I'm prepared for that? Do I know what I want to say to people when they ask me questions? And so I'm prepared to give appropriate answers that are going to make it successful rather than just a waste of your time. And how many people do I really need to meet? Right? Because remember the stack of business cards we talked about? It's been our nature just to collect and meet as many people as we possibly can. Really? No, that's not the most effective. Maybe I only need to meet 1 or 2 people each time I go. Quality people. And who are they I'm looking for? Other people are looking for you, so you're probably going to meet a lot more people than that. But right, if you walk home with 2, 3, 4, 5 solid connections for a next appointment, that's what it's about. That's where you're going to truly drive business, rather than just trying to attract everything you can and get all of those cards. Does that make sense? Any questions about goal setting? Because I think it's really important. Simple, but important. And it's about taking the time to do it, right? Because we always say we're going to do it, and then we never do. Yeah, Christine?
I have a question. So, and this is more coming from, like, trying to get some of our loan officers out, not sitting with that file in front of them. What do you recommend how do you keep it simple for them, and how do you, like, if you were leading a bunch of loan officers or whatever, how do you keep it simple for them, and what do you recommend for, like, all but, like, dragging them out of the app? Just wondering if you had any tips there.
Well, I would sit down and set goals with them. Because I think the other thing as leaders, if we just send people out there that don't know what they're doing, that they're afraid they're going to come back with no results either, right? And then they've disappointed you. And so maybe they need a realistic view of what your expectation is. Go out and bring back one person that you've talked to that was on your client list or your prospect list that you've never talked to before. Just one. And I consider that a success that you went out there. I'm not asking you to meet 20 people and get totally out of your comfort zone. Or find out, can you get them assigned jobs like the ambassador positions or working at registration or something to start getting them out. A friend of mine does a blog called The Once Timid Networker. Write that down if you're one of those people. The Once Timid Networker. And she does a beautiful job. See, I'm an extrovert, so I'm just out there telling people, go do. But she works really hard to be comfortable in networking. And now is a director for the BNI organization as well. And so she helps other people get over their fear of being out in public and networking. The Once Timid Networker. She might be another speaker for you one day, Katie, as well. So then once we've done all of this, right, we've planned for it, we've prepared well, we've had good conversations, we've gotten those action steps, then we must need to follow up on those action steps, right? Because that's the other thing we do. Right? Same thing with those big stack of business cards. They sit there for so long they end up in the C file, right? And nothing ever happens. So make sure, and it's easier to follow up if it's only 3 or 4 people, right? Because then the next day you have enough time in your day to spend a half an hour making that phone call. Or again, if you're a timid person, start with the email. But the email is something like this. Thanks for talking with me last night. It was really great to meet you. I was unaware of XYZ about your business, and it was really helpful for me to learn more about you. Have a great day. Again, we don't have to sell every time we talk to somebody. We're making contacts. We're just touching them. I call it touch point marketing. Touch them when they least expect it. Touch them when you're not trying to sell them something, just to share information. The Facebook and Twitter and all of that stuff is a similar message, right? To just be out there sharing value with people rather than always selling to people. Or pick up the phone, call and make that appointment. Hey, we talked about getting together for coffee. When can we schedule that? Here's the other thing. They're just as busy as you are. So never be offended or think they're avoiding you if they don't call you right back or respond right away. We have a tendency to immediately assume, oh, they don't want to talk to me anymore. Oh, they were just faking it, you know? When the reality is they're just as busy as you are. And so it does take some persistency. And if it's someone that you really needed to be connected to, a potential referral partner that could bring you business on a continual basis, it's worth the persistence to hang in there. They agree to meet with you, right? That makes it that much easier. More often than not, they're really going to follow up with that with you. How am I doing on time? Oh, pretty good. Questions about that? You know, I left a little quote at the end here, right? There's this fear of going into these environments. Fear is temporary. Once you get in, you can make yourself comfortable and be okay with it. Regret is permanent. You look back and you regret that you never did networking and your business is failing or you're not making enough money. There's nothing that's going to change that. So break out of that fear and take this step into a networking event using these tools. Do we have more confidence in what we're doing if we're prepared? Absolutely. So spending some time on what you want to talk about with those people gives you more confidence in walking in those rooms. Those are really basic tips. Like I said, I think that you guys were doing pretty good in here when I heard you networking. Is there anything I can answer any questions or help with that I've yet to share? Because I could go on for days on networking.
Sorry, I love this stuff. I just got to listen to a conference call with Dr. Ivan Meisner about the difference between men and women in networking.
Yes.
Did you get to hear any of that?
No, they presented at the national conference on that book. There's a book out called Networking and Sex, Not What You Think, by Dr. Ivan Meisner and Hazel Walker and Frank Durafley. And it's a study they did, a survey on the difference between how men network and how women network. And see, the basic of it that came to me out of it was men are out there trying to make the sale and close the deal right away, right? And we women are going, no, we want to get to know you first, right? Does it sound a little bit like the relationship world? It does. It's a great book. And if you can ever see those people present it, it's hilarious. So that's another great book to pick up on. There was one other book I wanted to share with you quick. It's called The World's Worst Networkers. The World's Worst Networkers, Lessons Learned by the Best from the Absolute Worst. I'm chapter number 13. And it really is, it's another funny one that teaches good lessons. And it's a bunch of different people from around the country who have shared really horrible stories of people doing things inappropriately in a networking environment and how to turn that around. And so you can read it in fun, and maybe you'll see yourself in it a little bit and go, oh yeah, maybe not do that anymore. But another good one to look up, and that's out on Amazon. Lots of networking education out there, okay? It really is a learned skill to use it fully as a strategy to grow your business. Otherwise, there wouldn't be that much knowledge out there. BNI is a big organization, and Dr. Ivan Misner would tell you that out of our 135,000 members, probably only know about 15% of the knowledge out there on networking, and that's our goal, is to educate them on networking. So you can see there's a plethora of knowledge out there. Pick the things that work for you, the books that you can read and take time to read, if they're funny ones or what have you, just so you learn. So there's lots of ways to use the strategy. All right then, thanks for having me today.